For as long as I can remember, I've been obsessed with stories of exploration. There's just something so thrilling about the idea that there might be something else out there, a lost city, a lost civilization, something that might make sense of this messy world that we're living in. So now looking back, I always thought this obsession started with Disney's Atlantis, which came out when I was about 5 years old. But thinking about it, I think there might have been a story I was exposed to even earlier in my life that caused this obsession. Not sure if this is very niche, but does anyone remember the adventures of the gummy bears and this whole lore about their lost city that they had to find in one of the seasons to retrieve some lost knowledge? That is one of the key memories of my childhood, so it's no wonder that I started being obsessed with the idea of lost civilizations. And yet I do realize that most real-life exploration stories are not quite as innocent as Disney's Atlantis makes it out to be. But the idea of exploration and of finding lost cities has been holding me in a chokehold for most of my life. But it's not just the stories that have intrigued me, it's also the fashion that explorers used to wear. There's a lot of pictures of women hiking up mountains in long skirts, and I've always wanted to recreate one of these looks. So in this video, we're going to make an exploration dress. But now our exploration is not going to go into the desert or into the jungle. We're going to stay a little bit closer to home. So imagine, what if a group of Edwardian explorers was setting out into the Scottish Highlands to find a lost civilization? For our look, we're going to make an Edwardian ensemble that consists of a skirt that is about ankle length. That's going to be practical and won't need much hiking up when we're walking through muddy grass and heather. For the bodice, I'm thinking about something that is very period appropriate, but it's going to be layered over a blouse so that the blouse can be washed and can get dirty, while the bodice itself will not get as much wear on it. And obviously we're going to make this in colors that seamlessly blend into the Scottish Highlands. So if you're like me, obsessed with stories of exploration and you love historical fashion, this video is for you. So, some of you might know how difficult it is to find a really nice tartan fabric that doesn't just look like black watch or plain gingham, but it's like something in between that feels very kind of rural and kind of like it belongs into the Highlands. This is the kind of fabric I've been looking for so very long, and I've just never had any success until I came across this fabric. I mean, look at it. It is honestly perfect. I saw it and I was like, I need to make something from it. And this is really how this whole project started. But this is what it looked like when it arrived. So now I don't hate it, but it's not at all the same color as the listing. They said they could return it, but then again, it is really difficult to even find anything like this because it does have, after all of the little details. It's got the darker colors, it's got some lighter colors. It has like the general color of it is just blue rather than green. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna dye it. At first I thought I'm just gonna dye it green. Chances are all of the little bits that are currently kind of like yellowish beige gonna turn green as well. And all of the bits that are blue are gonna turn more kind of like blue-green rather than mossy green. So not really what I was looking for either. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna dye it yellow because that makes sense, because blue and yellow makes green. Gonna move over into my kitchen, gonna put on an apron, and we're gonna start dyeing some fabric. So I have tried a series of different colors. So this is what we started out with. Please excuse any kind of stains on there. I just pop them into the air fryer to dry them. On the dehydration mode, putting a little spoon on top just so it doesn't blow up and catch fire. So be careful if you're trying this as well. This is the color it turns into. So that means we've got the entire sink full of dye ready. So I'm going to wet my fabric in the bathtub, bring it over here, and then rinse it and dry it and iron it, and then we can use it for sewing. So you will probably be shocked to hear that I have finally transferred my Edwardian skirt pattern onto new paper. So here we've got the back, the sides, which are going to be the front sides and the back sides, and then I've got the front. And the only change I've made from the original Butterick B5970 is that I've added a little bit more shaping to it. So we see that we've got the hips here, and then it goes in a little bit towards the knee, and then flares out a little bit more to the bottom again. So I hope it will look a little bit more like a trumpet skirt. The length currently goes all the way to my ankles, which means that this length will allow me to put some pin tucks in if I want to, or to shorten it depending on what I'm planning to do with it in the future. For the bodice, I've done a little bit of drafting. So this is the 1950s bodice pattern that we worked with in the Kiki video, and because this has a good shoulder to allow a non-gathered sleeve. So what I've done is I've changed the front here to allow the opening that we're desiring. So as you can see, this is where the new line goes. For the back, I've done something very similar, where the new pattern has the same armhole and shape, but it stops right here again so that we have the opening in the middle. And then for the sleeve, I went a little bit crazy. So here I have mashed up multiple patterns. So this is the 1950s sleeve pattern, which fits very well with the armhole, which is what I've used up here. On the other hand, this is my Edwardian bishop sleeve pattern, which generally speaking is really cute, but can be a little bit over the top, especially if you're looking at this part here. Kind of comes down here and hangs off, and in soft fabrics it can look really cute, but in stiff fabrics it can sometimes be a little bit awkward. I've used the general shape of this pattern, but I have taken off this entire bit here so that it will have some gathering, but not so much like a tumor that's hanging off. And then for the little flap that I want to have over the shoulder. So this is the front, it will have a little lapel, then get bigger over the shoulders and then just decrease towards the back. And this will line up then with this part of the pattern right here. And the other bit will line up with the front. So this here needs to be cut out from the outer fabric and from lining, because otherwise this kind of edge here cannot be finished unless we use a lining. So let's do some cutting out. So everything is cut out, and I have put all of the ribbon on all of the pieces that will require ribbon, which are the cuffs, the little flaps, the waistband, and then I've made these additional pieces which I thought would maybe go in between the two sections, because otherwise they'll just slide off my shoulders. And all of that needs to be sewn on. Then I put some of the pieces on interfacing, and then some of the pieces need to be ironed together. So I'll just get started on this, because this is all kind of like little prep work that needs to be done before I can start the actual sewing. And it's all a little bit fiddly, so I'll just get it out of the way first. It is the big sewing days, so I'm very glad that I've already started preparing stuff. Everything's just hanging off my ironing board, looking nice and crisp. So I've got the little shoulder flappy things ready to be applied, and my little waistband, and everything has the ribbon already on it. We're going to start with the skirt as always. I'm just going to put the panels together, put pockets into the side, and just, you know, assemble a skirt. So I'm not going to go too much into detail because it's really not that exciting. Let's get started, and maybe let's watch some exploration movies. Maybe a good time to watch Atlantis again. Let's go. I obviously forgot to put in these little flap things at the front here before closing all of the seams, so I had to open up the front seams again. But other than that, the skirt is kind of assembled, but obviously not anywhere near ready yet. So I will sew over these again, add some buttons here to hold them in place. The back is already finished, so I've got a little flap here, and then on this side I've just used a facing to finish this side, and then this will overlap like this and go into a waistband. So I'll just do a little bit more sewing until we get to the point where we can hem the bottom, because I've been watching a movie I really need to talk to you guys about. I said I would watch Atlantis, but I thought I'd watch something else that is a little bit more new and I haven't seen yet. Maybe there's something out there, some new exploration movies which I desperately need. So I found on Amazon Prime a movie called The Last Prince of Atlantis. So I'll skip ahead, do some more sewing, and then I will tell you about this. Okay, so the skirt is mainly assembled. It fits really well. I think it looks amazing, but then also it is a green Edwardian tartan skirt. So I think there's actually no going wrong with this. And as I am here folding up my hem, I thought I would talk to you about this movie that I just finished. So it's called The Last Prince of Atlantis, and it is basically an off-brand answer to Disney's Atlantis and El Dorado and the Treasure Planet maybe a bit as well. So it kind of fits in with these movies, but the execution of this movie is... Like, I see what they were going for, but I think every wrong turn they could have taken, they did take.
Look, a bunch of flying fish.
Adriana. Your voice from a world long ago speaks to my longing soul of a truth I should know.
So it kind of starts with the more innocent things like the character design of our main man, Alexander. It kind of rivals the early Barbie movies in blandness of love interest. This man has zero character, and also he's like the chosen prince of Atlantis to survive in this sleep state underwater, to then lead in the rise of Atlantis one day again. So a little bit like Aang in The Last Airbender. And he is not very smart, and he's not very good at handling situations, and he keeps being tricked by the villain to the point where I'm like, why did Atlantis choose this man? Like, he's not like a good strategist, he's not clever. Like, is this really the best they had? Then more problematic things. So Alexander, the Prince of Atlantis, is very blonde-haired and blue-eyed and keeps talking about his Atlantean race. So and just the whole movie was just a very painful watch. It was an experience, it definitely was. I think there is a huge gap in the market for lost civilization and explorer stories like this. And I've been desperately wanting to read a book like this, just like kind of Atlantis, but as a romantasy, which is why I actually ended up writing my own book. I haven't talked about this for ages. I just haven't had time. I'm doing so many things at the same time, but I mentioned it in one of my previous videos and people were asking about it. So I don't know if anyone cares about this, but in my second year of my PhD, I did write kind of like a romantasy version of Atlantis because I just felt the need. I felt like I wanted the story so badly and no one is writing it, so I need to write it. Just wrote this whole kind of like late Victorian dark academia story about basically a lost civilization that just disappeared and everyone's really confused about how that could be possible. And the official story is that the humans defeated them. But the main character, Elsie, is kind of a historian, and she is very convinced that there must be some of these everlasting, as they're called, still out there. And she's convinced that they're hiding in the lost city of Eversley. And she basically writes this whole thesis about how Eversley exists and how there's evidence and where it's located, and like very Atlantis, you know. And then there's a royal expedition based on her theories that is being funded, and she is then going with this expedition to try to find the lost city of Eversley and try to find out what really happened to the everlasting and how a whole civilization could have disappeared overnight. It is really dear to my heart, I have to say. Like, I always feel like with this story, I was very keen to get it out there, and I edited it so very many times. I had beta readers read it. I got an offer from a publisher for it, but I still like I knew in my heart the book wasn't where I wanted it to be yet. So I then turned down the publisher. It wasn't like an amazing deal. It wasn't like Bloomsbury or anything. It was a publisher that offered on-demand printing as well. And I was like, if I sell away the rights to this book, I really want my book to be in the bookshop. I guess I have self-published books before as well. So it just kind of felt like if the only thing I get out of it is some editing. They were also adamant that I wouldn't be involved in the cover design. And I don't know, I'm just a bit of a perfectionist because I feel like I can never be happy with covers. But yeah, it's a story very dear to my heart and all the characters mean very much to me. But I feel like I would like to completely rework the book once more while also writing my PhD, looking for jobs, and running a YouTube and Instagram channel. There just hasn't really been the time. One day in the future, I want to come back because, like I said, this is a story very important to me. And it's a story that I actually enjoy reading, which sounds really cringy. But whenever I go back and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to read the book again before I go back and edit it, I actually really enjoy it. Not to praise myself. I mean, I don't think I'm an amazing writer, but I do think the story is very enjoyable. And I just one day want to come back to it and want to bring it to you guys and maybe have some more beta readers come in and see what they think of the updated version. But until then, we must watch stories like The Last Prince of Atlantis in desperate search for explorer stories. So this is my call out to you guys. Do you have any book and movie recommendations that kind of fall into this genre, like lost civilizations, lost cities, just exploring into the unknown? I need it so desperately, please. I feel like Expedition really filled that hole in my life for me because that is obviously a story about them going out into the unknown and trying to realize that the world that they knew is completely different to what they actually expected it to be, and that all of their kind of beliefs are questioned. I need this, and like there must be something out there. Like I cannot be the only person who's written a book like this. So please give me your recommendations. With that, I have managed to get my hem folded all the way around so I can finish the hem and we can continue with the skirt. So it is lunchtime and the skirt is basically finished. So I still have to iron the hem and the pin tuck, and I have added a little button here, but the back is still open. So I need to put some eyelets. No, that's not the right word. Hooks and eyes, but that's gonna take a long time to hand sew. So I'm gonna do that tonight at some point. But that means I can now take my lunch break, take Archie out, and then we can start working on the bodice. And I'm so excited. Archie. Hi! Hi, baby! Oh, it's your sister! Hi! Hi! Everyone's together! I am back from the puppy walk and it was very cold and very windy and very rainy, so I changed into a cardigan because I'm very cold. We are going to start working on the bodice now. So let me show you again what we have. So this is what our front looks like, and the idea is that it just kind of sits like this, and then eventually it will meet up with this flappy thing. In order to get there, I am going to first put in the darts. So we've got a dart here and a dart here, and for the back we've got a dart right here, just to make everything nice and snug around the waist so that it's well fitted. And then we're going to join it at the shoulder seams and at the side seams and put in the sleeve. So now for the sleeve, if you remember, we've got this Edwardian bishop sleeve. She's on the sewing machine now. Tilly, is that really where you have to be? Cuffs that also have one of the little ribbons on it. So just everything sewn together, and then we can deal with attaching the flap to them as well. And try things on, obviously, to see that my alterations actually turned out the way I imagined them. So this is where we're at, and it's coming along quite nicely. I still feel like it could have been a little bit shorter because there is a little bit of bulging here and in the back, but it was like such a nightmare to fit. So these bits here were just sewn on, and then in here I've got the overlocked seam, and then I've just added a little waistband to it and tried to kind of like put everything into the right spot so that it fits. I've just got a little hook and eye here to close it. Made the skirt slightly bigger so that the nice waistband from the skirt with the ribbon on it can go over this. What comes next is these bits here need to be sewn on. For the back, both sides will be sewn on because I can open it at the front, so I can just put it on like an actual jacket. For the front, one side will be sewn on and the other side will just have hooks and eyes underneath. Okay, so we are on the finishing line, and I'm not actually wearing a skirt. Maybe I should put on a skirt. So I've just tried on the entire ensemble, and it is honestly perfect. I'm so happy with how it turned out. So the one thing I still need to do is, most of these explorers that go into the desert wear these little shawls over their head to shield themselves from the sunlight. So now there's not really a problem with sunlight in Scotland, but it is always so windy. So I'm thinking I will need something similar. So originally I thought I could maybe put one of my lamb's wool scarves around my head, but they're actually really bulky. So instead I used an old bed sheet, cut a piece out. As you can tell, I'm already wearing the hat for it. So I thought, if I just hem the edges, immediate explorer. Cat! Cat! What is it about cats that she knows exactly which cable she definitely shouldn't chew? Like literally the internet cable that comes out of the wall that was installed by the engineer is the one she will chew because she thinks it's dinner time. Anyways, we were trying to say that if I hem this, it would be an explorer outfit. That is what I'm trying to say. It's been a long day. Okay, with that, I'm going to hem this. I am going to hand stitch lots of things on the skirt. I still need to iron the bodice and the skirt, and then we are going to be finished. But I'm honestly so excited about how it turned out. It looks exactly the way I imagined it, and I honestly cannot wait to see what it looks like in the Scottish countryside, because that's where I'm gonna take you. So I'm gonna finish the outfit off screen now, and I'm going to see you out and about exploring the Scottish wilderness. You want to say anything else, Lee? Let's go see the reveal. It's finished. So my final verdict is I absolutely love this. I really enjoyed making this, even though it was really stressful trying to finish it all up yesterday, and I ended up having to sew on some more little hooks and eyes in the morning, just because I realized that even though I tried to fit this in a way where the bodice is really tight, so if I move my arms up and down it wouldn't move up, but it did. So I had to put little hooks and eyes at the front here and at the back here just to keep everything in place. But generally speaking, I think this turned out perfect. This is exactly how I imagined it. I am honestly so in love. I did consider putting a ribbon at the bottom of the skirt, but then I did actually like this so much, I thought I wanted to wear the skirt just casually, and I felt like if there was a ribbon, it might look a little bit more costumey than it already does. So I skipped the ribbon, which would have been nice for this look, but for like day-to-day wear, it's going to be nicer without the ribbon. I'm really happy. I love making Edwardian costumes like this, and I feel like the accentuated V shape of this really makes my waist look nice. I do think I could have spent a little bit more time trying to fit this because of the way it isn't a pinafore, so it has to fit properly, but then I don't know, it's just, I think these bits here are still a little bit too long, so they keep falling off the shoulder, and I actually have to put some pins here to pin it to the blouse just for it to stay in place. That's fine, it is a costume after all. I'm probably not going to wear this to work unless I found a work that required me to dress like this, which would be a dream. But with that, we're coming to the end of the video. So please remember, if you've got any suggestions for any books about exploration, so I'm thinking fantasy, but also historical, as long as there's a strong focus on romance, I need to know them. I need to find books and movies and things that are just around this genre. So please help your girl out. So now I'm also thinking, because I really enjoy making Edwardian costumes, and in the past I've just not really found excuses to do so, but now with me making costumes on YouTube and you guys watching my videos, I'm wondering whether that is maybe something I want to push my channel towards, making more not really wearable Edwardian outfits that I just kind of wear for a shooting, rather than trying to make day-to-day wear, because this is kind of like what I'm really passionate about, and also what a kind of my area of expertise is. So I would just love to make more Edwardian gowns, day gowns, evening gowns, just things that I can't really wear out every day, but I can show you guys on the internet because I love making costumes. But that brings us to the end of the video, so I really hope you enjoyed this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys in my next video. So bye-bye.
Love isn't everything. No, wait until you've lived for a while. You'll come to realize that.
Oh, Father, you don't understand. I want to be in love with the man that I marry. Oh.